What happens when a cutting-edge American A-18E Super Hornet comes face-to-face with a decades-old Syrian Su-22 fighter in hostile skies? Can advanced training and modern weapons always triumph over experience and desperation? And what led to the first U.S. air-to-air kill since 1999? Let's dive into one of the most tense aerial encounters of the Syrian civil war. The skies over Syria were no stranger to war, but on June 18, 2017, they witnessed something rare, an American fighter pilot making a split-second decision that would ripple through global headlines. The A-18E Super Hornet, the Navy's premier carrier-based multi-role fighter, squared off against a Soviet-era Su-22, a relic of Cold War dogfights. But this wasn't just about speed and missiles. It was about territory, strategy, and the thin line between defense and escalation. June 18, 2017, in the skies above war-ravaged Syria, a high-stakes confrontation unfolds that could ignite a wider conflict. Below, Syrian democratic forces clash with government troops in a brutal battle for territory. Above, American Super Hornets patrol, tasked with protecting allies and enforcing a fragile balance. But when a Syrian Su-22 warplane dives to bomb Kurdish fighters, a U.S. Navy F-A-18E pilot is forced to make a split-second decision: shoot down a hostile aircraft in the first such kill in nearly 2 decades. This is the story of that fateful encounter: the weapons, the pilots, and the political storm it unleashed. The Syrian civil war, raging since 2011, had fragmented the country into zones controlled by government forces, rebels, ISIS, Kurdish groups, and foreign powers. By 2017, the US-led coalition was deeply involved, targeting ISIS and supporting the Syrian Democratic Forces, an alliance of Kurdish and Arab fighters. Since 2014, coalition airstrikes had weakened ISIS, but tensions with the Syrian government and its allies were escalating. In late 2016, coalition aircraft mistakenly struck Syrian forces at Deir ez-Zor, killing over 100 soldiers. Syria canceled ceasefires and Russia bolstered its military presence. In April 2017, the U.S. launched missile strikes on the Shayrat Air Base in retaliation for chemical attacks, further raising stakes. By June, the USS George H.W. Bush Carrier Strike Group had deployed to the eastern Mediterranean, ready to respond to threats. The rules of engagement were constantly shifting, and the risk of direct conflict was growing. Let's look at the players in the sky. On one side, the F-A-18E Super Hornet, a sleek, modern, multi-role fighter. Top speed, Mach 1.8, around 1,190 miles per hour. Advanced ESA radar, capable of detecting and tracking targets over 100 miles away. Equipped with infrared targeting pods, electronic warfare systems, and advanced avionics for precision strikes and survivability. Armed with AIM-9 Sidewinder heat-seeking missiles, range approximately 18 miles, for close combat. Plus the AIM-120 AMRAAM, a radar-guided missile with a range exceeding 20 miles, perfect for beyond visual range engagements. On the other side, the Syrian Su-22 fighter, a Soviet-era fighter bomber primarily designed for ground attack. Top speed, just over Mach 1.4 in 1,000 miles per hour. Lacks advanced radar and electronic countermeasures found in modern fighters. Armed mostly with unguided bombs and older missile systems. Less agile and with limited situational awareness in a dogfight against a Super Hornet. In this battle, the technological gap was enormous. But can technology alone decide a fight? Let's see what happened next. June 18, 2017, the sky above Syria was a checkerboard of danger, opportunity, and diplomacy by other means. As the sun hung high above the scorched battlefield near Jadin, U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander Michael Mob Tremel was flying at 20,000 feet in his F-A-18E Super Hornet, locked into a routine combat air patrol. The air seemed quiet, deceptively so. But below, Kurdish SDF units were locked in a desperate struggle against advancing Syrian regime troops. The balance was tilting. Then came the call. Hostile aircraft inbound. Syrian Su-22 headed toward SDF positions. Tremel's eyes shot to his radar screen. A fast blip was emerging from the southwest. Low altitude, high speed. Visual confirmation followed seconds later. It was a Syrian Su-22 fighter, old but still lethal in the right hands, flying with a purpose, toward the front lines where U.S. partner forces were dug in. Tremel knew what this meant. This was no reconnaissance flyover. The Syrian pilot was on an attack run. The M9X launch, Tremel's voice crackled over the comms. Fox 2, missile away. He had just fired an M9X Sidewinder, the U.S. military's most advanced short-range, heat-seeking air-to-air missile. Compact and precise, the M9X could lock onto an aircraft's engine signature from miles away, track its movement through tight turns, and kill with ruthless efficiency. The missile streaked through the Syrian sky, spiraling toward the Su-22's tailpipe. Tremel watched from his HUD, waiting for the explosion. The moment that would end the encounter, but it never came. The Su-22 flared. At the last second, the Syrian pilot deployed countermeasures. Hot-burning magnesium flares that mimicked the heat of his exhaust. The Sidewinder, confused, veered off course and exploded harmlessly in the air. Tremel had missed, but now the Syrian pilot had confirmed his hostile intent. He had bombed coalition allies and evaded a missile. The rules of engagement were crystal clear. The next shot had to count. Switching to the AMRAAM Fox 3. Without hesitation, Tremel flipped a switch, arming his AIM-120C AMRAAM, the Advanced Medium-Range Air-to-Air Missile. Unlike the AIM-9, the AMRAAM uses active radar homing. Once fired, it relies on its own radar system to seek out and destroy targets, even in cluttered airspace. The missile has a fire-and-forget capability, a huge advantage in dogfights where seconds can mean survival or death. Fox 3, AMRAAM away. The missile detached from the Hornet's underwing pylon and roared toward the fleeing Su-22. Tremel watched the blip on his radar close distance. 10 miles, 5 miles, 2 miles. Then a white flash. A fireball bloomed in the distant sky. The AMRAAM had struck the Su-22's rear fuselage just behind the engine. Likely where the fuel lines and hydraulic systems ran, the aircraft disintegrated mid-air, its burning wreckage tumbling in multiple directions as pieces fell to the Syrian desert below. A split-second engagement, and history was made. The Syrian pilot's fate captain Ali Fahd, the Syrian pilot, had ejected just in time. His parachute deployed and carried him to the ground below, landing behind Syrian army lines. Within hours, Damascus reported that he had survived and was back in friendly territory. He would become a symbol of resistance to foreign intervention for some, and of the Assad regime's desperation for others. For Tremel, there was no time to reflect. The aftermath in the sky. As the debris still smoldered below, Russian aircraft scrambled from nearby airbases, including Su-27 and Su-30 interceptors. The sky was no longer calm. It was buzzing with potential threats. U.S. AWACS operators ordered a full withdrawal of coalition aircraft from the immediate area. Tremel and his wingman formed up, made a swift turn towards safer airspace, and refueled from a KC-135 Stratotanker over the Gulf before heading back to the George H.W. Bush. The mission was over, but the ramifications were only beginning. This shootdown was the first time since 1999 that the U.S. shot down a crewed aircraft, and the first involving the A-18E Super Hornet variant. The Syrian government condemned the strike, calling it a violation of sovereignty. Russia suspended its deconfliction hotline with the U.S. coalition and warned that any coalition aircraft west of the Euphrates would be considered potential targets. The pilot of the Su-22, Captain Ali Fahd, was found alive by Syrian forces the next day. Lieutenant Commander Tremel received the Distinguished Flying Cross for his quick decision-making under pressure. This incident sent ripples through the Syrian conflict, escalating tensions and reminding the world that in the skies over Syria, every moment could turn deadly. What does this dogfight tell us about modern air warfare? That even a single pilot flying a single mission can change the course of a conflict, or at least its perception. Now it's your turn. What would you have done in Tremel's place? Do you think the U.S. made the right call? What conflict or battle should we explore next? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want more gripping tales of modern military history, hit that subscribe button. More intense encounters and untold stories are coming your way, only on Tale of Wars. Subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden battles that shape our world.